Shalom from Jerusalem, and our weekly portion, Vayera, among other fascinating things, talking about very known episode. It's called Sacrifice of Isaac, Akedat Yitzchak. And because everybody knows Akedat Yitzchak, I'd just like to ask, what did it teaches us? And what's the unusual aspect of Akedat Yitzchak that usually are not seen? I'm going to be talking about very few because there are so many things. So like Abraham is asked to bring Yitzchak as a Olah. Olah literally means elevation, but at that time and even today in the Torah very often is euphemism for sacrifice, animal sacrifice, which is also elevation. But Abraham takes it as the human sacrifice, and he needs to do it to his son that he really loves. Now, what's happening here goes totally against any logic. It goes against what Abraham taught the world, how Abraham felt about the spirituality in the world, and of course against the promise that God gave him, that said through Yitzchak, who was born totally by miracle, through Yitzchak you will spread the teaching, his children will inherit the land, and so on, so on, so on. So what's happening here? And now sages point out that that's exactly what's happening. Abraham was tremendously sensitive spiritual person. By feeling his own spirituality, feeling God inside of himself as you wish, he felt what's right and what's wrong, what's in harmony, what's not in harmony. And that's when Abraham are arguing with God about the dome. That's what's really happening. He feels God inside of him, and he feels that it's not right to kill the righteous people together with wicked people. It's not right that, the righteous people die together. So as he's arguing with God, he's pleading with God, right? It's like he is pleading with God who is outside of him from his soul, from his godly part inside of him. But what is God showing to Abraham? Abraham, that ultimately what is kindness, what is chesed, what is good, it's come from God. And there are going to be times where you're not going to understand what God asks you and why God asks you. Can you suppress your ego? Doesn't matter how it is, doesn't matter how perceptive it is. Can you say, I don't understand what's going on, but God, you are right? Now that's a test. That's a test for Abraham, but it's a test for all of us. You see, because it doesn't matter where we are. We have these little tests, meaning like, do I understand Torah? Do I understand commandments? Do I understand what God asks me to do? God doesn't ask me to sacrifice my child. God asks me to some people start lighting candles on Shabbos, start people, avoiding touching the lights on Shabbos. For other people is eating kosher food. Purify my relationships. I don't understand. But if I can say to God, God, you're asking me, and because I know you love me, and because I feel your love, and I love you, and I trust you, I'm going to do it. Now, imagine what it does. It creates an incredible closeness. It's way beyond rationale. It's like going beyond. So that was one of the things that happens. But interestingly enough, as crazy it sounds from outside, the psychologists point us today that we do have tendency and desire to sacrifice our children to a cause. And, well, some of that is very, we can see that. You see, if the cause is my business, and I spend many hours there, and my children don't get my love, don't get my attention, yeah, okay, so children become sacrifice, but not Allah, not elevation, right? It's become sacrifice in the bad sense of it. We're not talking about Palestinian terrorists whose mother sent for the cause, right? But there is even deeper idea that, you see, there is a child inside each one of us. And this child, it's sometimes unruly, and sometimes this child does not listen to us. And in people who really have conflict with an inner child, the child does not trust adult, and adult wants to kill the child. Why? Because the adult believes and feels that the child is the cause of all the adult's problems. So, meaning, when I go for interview for a job and I freeze, right? So it's a child inside of me that does it. Or I do something inappropriate, it's a child inside of me. So there is this tendency to kill our inner child. So the message for us, apart from anything else, is don't. Don't kill your inner child. Elevate the inner child, right? There's an animal parts that can be changed, transformed, giving awareness of God, and therefore that's what caused the sacrificial of the animal parts. But child needs to be loved and educated. But there's another aspect. What did Yitzchak learn from the Akedah? Right? He was willing, of course, to give his life. He says, please bound me, right? So he nullified his own ego. And Rabbi Ari Khan points out something very, very important. He says, in the end of days, there's a midrash, that God will come to Abraham and says, Abraham, your children transgressed, sinned, right? So Abraham would say, wipe them out, right, for your name. And so God says, well, old man doesn't understand anything, I'll go to Yaakov. Yaakov suffered in his life. Yaakov, your children sinned. Wipe them out, says Yaakov, right? It's a young boy also doesn't understand. I have to go to Yitzchak. Goes to Yitzchak and goes and says, Yitzchak, your children sinned. And Yitzchak says, God, my children? Look, when they're coming out of Egypt, all the Torah is saying, my children, my children. All of a sudden they sin, that they are my children, they're not your children. So, besides that, what do you mean they sin? How much they really sin? No, they live 70 years, then, 20 years we don't judge them, half of the rest of the 50 years, right, the half of them they sleep, that's 25 years, then they pray, they eat, they say, they go to the washroom, it's 12 and a half years. He said, look, it's 25 years, it was hard for me, Yitzchak says to God, then you know what, let's split it, half and half, and if not, I'll take everything, because after all, I was sacrificed, I was on the altar there. So what is it says? Yitzchak is a manifestation of Gvura. Yitzchak is a manifestation of judgment, of borders. And all of a sudden that, this Gvura is telling, hey, Yitzchak is, as you know, the name itself is laughter, is laughing at God as you wish, right? So what is it, sin? So there's a very important lesson that Yitzchak learned, that all the Gvura, all the judgment, all the borders have to serve Chesed, have to serve kindness. And in the end, when it's come to the final judgment, Yitzchak says two things. That first, Yitzchak will love, we'll talk about it after in our next portions. The judgment will laugh, at the people who think that they can win over the divine justice, but also the justice comes and saves us. Now, that's how we should be. We should judge ourselves only for Chesed, meaning that the judgment has to be in order to be kind. We should judge other people this way. We should see inside of each person the divine soul that each one really have, and therefore realizing that the essence that God creates, it's not even person's merit. That's how we created. The essence of the person, the soul, is always good. The deeds can be horrible, they can be bad, people can make terrible mistakes and so on. But this is outside of this essence. When we look at people this way, we judge them differently. We feel differently about them. And I want to give everybody blessings to really develop this kind of worldview, view of yourself and the people. From Jerusalem, Shalom, Shalom.